The village of Willow Creek was a place of quiet beauty, a sanctuary where time seemed to stand still. Nestled amidst rolling hills and whispering willows, it was a haven of tranquility, far removed from the chaos of the outside world. The village seemed untouched by the turmoil of the world, a place where the past and present coexisted in harmony. Thomas, a young man with a thirst for knowledge, had always been drawn to the past. His curiosity was insatiable, and he found solace in the stories of yesteryears. He spent countless hours in the village library, poring over dusty tomes and ancient scrolls. The scent of old paper and the quiet rustle of pages turning were his constant companions. One crisp autumn afternoon, Thomas found himself in conversation with Old Man Hemlock, the village elder. Hemlock was a man of few words, but his presence was commanding. Hemlock's eyes held a depth of wisdom that captivated Thomas. They seemed to have witnessed the passage of countless seasons, each one leaving its mark. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the village green, Thomas asked Hemlock about the wars that had ravaged the world. The question hung in the air, heavy with unspoken histories. Hemlock nodded slowly, his gaze distant. His eyes seemed to look beyond the present, into a past filled with both glory and sorrow. Wars, he began, his voice raspy with age, are born of many things: greed, envy, the lust for power. Each conflict a tragic tale of human folly and ambition. He pointed to a nearby merchant, his cart laden with exotic goods. That man seeks profit to expand his wealth, but what if another covets what he has? The seeds of conflict are sown in such desires. Intrigued, Thomas listened intently. He realized that to understand the world, he needed to understand the forces that drove nations to war, the complexities of human nature, and the consequences of unchecked ambition. He pondered Hemlock's words, the weight of their meaning settling in his mind. The elder's insights were not just about the past, but a reflection on the present and future as well. Hemlock's words sparked a fire in his heart, a yearning to uncover the truth behind humanity's long and bloody history of conflict. Thomas felt a newfound determination, a mission to seek out the stories that shaped the world. As he walked through the village, Thomas felt a connection to the generations that had come before him. Each cobblestone, each whispering willow, held a piece of the past. He watched the village children play, their laughter a stark contrast to the somber tales of war. It was a reminder of the innocence that war sought to destroy. Thomas began to document his thoughts, filling pages with reflections and questions. He knew that his journey was just beginning, and that the answers he sought would not come easily. As dawn broke over Willow Creek, Thomas felt a sense of purpose. The village, with its whispers of the past, had given him a direction. He was ready to face the world, armed with the wisdom of the ages. With a heart full of hope and a mind eager for knowledge, Thomas set out on his quest. The village of whispers had spoken, and he was ready to listen. The merchant, a portly man named Silas, was indeed a man driven by profit. His eyes gleamed with the promise of gold, and his heart beat to the rhythm of commerce. Every coin he earned was a testament to his shrewdness and business acumen. He traveled far and wide, acquiring goods from distant lands and selling them at a premium in the local markets. Silas was not just a merchant, he was an adventurer, a seeker of treasures hidden in the farthest corners of the world. His journeys took him across treacherous seas and through dense forests, all in the pursuit of profit. His success, however, had bred envy among some. Whispers of his wealth and influence spread through the market like wildfire, igniting the flames of jealousy in the hearts of his competitors. They watched him with narrowed eyes, their minds plotting ways to undermine his success. Silas told Thomas of a rival merchant, a cunning and ruthless man who sought to control the trade routes and monopolize the flow of goods. This rival, known as Bartholomew, was as ambitious as Silas, but his methods were far more unscrupulous. He would stop at nothing to see Silas's downfall. This rivalry had escalated, leading to skirmishes between their hired guards and attempts to sabotage each other's businesses. The market had become a battleground, with each side trying to outmaneuver the other. Broken carts, stolen goods, and bruised egos were the order of the day. "It's not just about the money, lad," Silas confessed, wiping his brow with a silk handkerchief. "It's about power, about being the one who calls the shots. In this world, control is everything." He looked at Thomas with a seriousness that belied his usual jovial demeanor. The stakes were higher than mere profit, they were about dominance and influence. Hemlock, who had been listening quietly, nodded in agreement. He understood the gravity of Silas's words. Power was a seductive force, one that could corrupt even the noblest of souls. It was a lesson he had learned through years of observing the rise and fall of men. Economic gain and territorial ambitions, he said, his voice grave, have been the root of countless conflicts throughout history. From ancient empires to modern nations, the quest for more has led to wars, betrayals, and the downfall of civilizations. The pursuit of wealth and power was a double-edged sword. Nations, like men, can be driven by greed and the desire for more. The maps of history are littered with the scars of conquest and the remnants of once great empires. The desire to expand, to control, to dominate was a tale as old as time itself. Thomas, piecing together the merchant's story and Hemlock's words, began to understand the complex web of motives that could lead to war. It wasn't just about trade or profit, it was about the very essence of human nature. The desire to be the best, to have more, to control, was a powerful force that could drive men to great heights or lead them to their doom. It wasn't simply about right and wrong. It was about power, resources, and the insatiable human desire for more. The struggle for dominance was a never-ending cycle, one that had shaped the course of history and would continue to do so. Thomas realized that in this world, the seeds of greed and envy were sown deep, and their roots ran far and wide. Hemlock then turned to the two great wars that had shaken the world in the not-so-distant past. These wars, he said, were not just events in history books, but cataclysmic episodes that had reshaped the very fabric of human civilization. The first, he said, his voice heavy with sorrow, was a tangled web of alliances and rivalries, sparked by the assassination of an archduke in a faraway land. This single event, seemingly insignificant in the grand scheme of things, set off a chain reaction that engulfed the world in conflict. World War I, Hemlock explained, had drawn in nations from across the globe, leaving millions dead and entire continents in ruins. The trenches, the gas attacks, the relentless artillery fire, these were the grim realities faced by soldiers and civilians alike. The war to end all wars, as it was called, left a legacy of grief and loss that would haunt generations. The second, Hemlock continued, his gaze distant, was fueled by the hatred and ambition of a single man. Adolf Hitler's rise to power in Germany, driven by a toxic mix of nationalism and vengeance, set the stage for an even more devastating conflict. World War II, with its horrors of genocide and atomic bombs, had left an even deeper scar on the world's psyche. The Holocaust, the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews, and the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were atrocities that defied comprehension. The war's end brought relief, but also a profound sense of loss and a desperate need for reconciliation. The rise of Nazi Germany, fueled by nationalist fervor and a thirst for revenge, served as a chilling example of how ideology could be twisted to justify unimaginable atrocities. The propaganda, the rallies, the indoctrination of youth, all these elements combined to create a society willing to follow a path of destruction. Thomas listened, his mind struggling to grasp the scale of the devastation. He had always known about the wars from history classes and documentaries, but hearing Hemlock speak of them with such raw emotion brought home the true cost of conflict. It was as if the past was reaching out to him, demanding to be remembered and understood. He had read of these wars in books, but hearing Hemlock speak of them with such raw emotion brought home the true cost of conflict. The stories of bravery, sacrifice, and unimaginable suffering were no longer just words on a page. They were real, tangible experiences that had shaped the world he lived in. The world he realized was still grappling with the consequences of these wars, the wounds still fresh, the scars still visible. The memorials, the history books, the stories passed down through generations, all served as reminders of the fragility of peace and the enduring impact of war. As he stood there, listening to Hemlock, Thomas felt a deep sense of responsibility to remember and honor those who had suffered and died, and to strive for a future where such conflicts would never happen again. Hemlock's voice softened as he spoke of Stalingrad, a battle etched in his memory. He described the relentless bombing, the bitter hand-to-hand combat in the rubble-strewn streets, the sheer will of the defenders to hold on against all odds. Stalingrad, he said, his voice barely a whisper, was where the tide turned, but at a terrible cost. The Battle of Stalingrad, Hemlock explained, was a turning point in World War II. marking the beginning of Germany's retreat from the east. But the victory came at a horrific price, with hundreds of thousands of soldiers and civilians dead and the city reduced to rubble. Thomas, imagining the carnage, the suffering, the sheer scale of the destruction, felt a chill run down his spine. Stalingrad, he realized, was more than just a battle. It was a symbol of the human cost of conflict, a stark reminder of the fragility of peace.